Hey folks, just a friendly reminder that all shows on the Madness Comic Network are produced by their individual hosts and in no way reflect the opinions of the network as a whole. The statements in the following broadcast are not necessarily the opinions of the Madness Comic Network, its staff, sponsors, or contributors. This show is rated TVMA, as are all of them and all those other letters. Viewer discretion is highly advised, and, just do what Doc says. Read that again. Peace, everybody.
Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
The future. The final frontier. It has never been so uncertain as now. AI, VR, haptic wear, nanotechnology, mass destruction with a remote click. Now we are finally seeing the true potential and dangers of an ever-connected and overly policed hyper-technological world. Have we finally become the architect of our own demise? Is there still hope? Welcome to the future. Welcome to Punk Droid.
The writer and creator of numerous comic books and graphic novels, including Nightmare World, Tales of Mystery, Brave but Not Dead, all kinds of stuff. And I am super excited for you because you are getting to watch right now, right this moment, out of all the things we're going to be doing, you're getting to enjoy and revel in the Madness Comic Network. And that is awesome. Thank you for being here.
All right, folks. Здравствуйте, товарищ, and welcome to another Wednesday. We're here again. So, and joining myself and Charles this week is a fine young man I know named Nathan Lawson, who's been doing colors for me on a few different books. He's got a book of his own that I'm sure we'll be talking about quite a bit. and let's get this thing started. Charles, have you met Nathan?
I don't believe I have, but he does have an arch rival.
Do I?
Yes. Her name is a criminal daughter.
What?
What's his last name?
Oh, Lawson.
Oh, criminal daughter. We are known well.
Yeah.
Charles is the lord of terrible jokes.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know when I've been bested and my jokes are terrible, but my jokes are nowhere near as terrible as Charles's. Ever. Yes.
By the way, good news. I'm going to have this weird lump removed today.
Oh, that's. I thought about it after you left. Charles was down here this weekend, and I was like, "Dude,
we had a blast.
Don't get rid of that. That's your elbow tit."
Yeah. It's like I woke up and I felt something weird on it. I'm like, let's get away from my elbow.
He's just like, woo.
You got a wife in the other room.
He's got an elbow
tit. Jealous.
It's an elboob.
Yes.
Elboob.
The elboob.
Wait. It's like the creature from Rick and Morty when he went onto the world destruction of planets. Hello.
Oh God. Only Charles could have a boob on his arm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Although Les knows you, I'm curious what guided you into the side of hue and saturation and levels instead of the major black and white arts or tradition.
Oh, he does the other stuff too.
Oh yeah, well,
I do it all.
That, but some people
he does it all. He's yeah.
Well, I like to challenge myself personally. That's kind of the whole reason I'm in this game in the first place, was because of a challenge. And if somebody, puts a challenge in front of my, screen, then that's what I'm doing. And Les, right now, he's getting me doing colors. So that's been it.
Yeah, well, the work is very impressive. And
Thank you.
Hoping that during this, you might give some pointers for people who want to experiment with flatting, so on and so forth. For example, one artist, I looked at his flatting layer and it looked like a mess. But then it's literally just all these paint swabs underneath. But with the alignment of the color layer, it just pops and looks beautiful.
That's true.
Now for a beginner, what would some of the would you suggest doing pen and ink? What's the advantage of software? What's the advantage of paints? You have all different medias. What would be your advice to a kid in high school who's admiring you, and you're at a Comic-Con?
Right. Well, Les got me involved with Clip Studio, the software, and that's been my kind of stomping ground for a long time. I'm more accustomed to digital at this point, just because in the past 2 years, that's what I've honed in on. The benefit of it being that if you aren't so strong with your flats, or you just, you need to send it to your customer and they're like, well, we want to change the tone just a bit. If you work your layers correctly, which is what I do, I spend most of my time doing that, then it's as easy as 2-second adjustment. That's all you have to really do. So it's mainly about, I guess, the thing that you're most comfortable with, what you want to learn. But for me personally, it's been the convenience of digital, being able to change it on the fly.
Wow.
I met Nathan for the first time when it was actually the first time I'd ever come to the western end of Kentucky, and I was doing a show here for it was a benefit convention. It was a benefit for the people of Mayfield, Kentucky, who in 2020 were just devastated by a what was it, a Cat 5? I think it was a Cat 5 tornado.
I think so. Yeah.
It was they call it the finger of God.
That's a Cat 5.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. No, that was insane. What happened? It actually tore through my house, and it turned into a Tim Burton house, which was pretty interesting.
What?
Yeah. It went through. We were in the hallway as it was happening, and like I said, everything was a little slanted afterwards. But
wow.
After that, we decided. I was going to school in Paducah, so I was like, if we can get a place up here, that would be phenomenal. And that's where we met, was at that event.
Yeah, Nathan was. This is kind of a thing that I'm going to toss out there for all the younger folks who may stumble onto this. Have your portfolio up to date and ready at all times.
Yeah.
There were other kids there who had stuff that were showing, and there was a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent that I saw in the area because, one of the sponsors of the event was the Paducah School of Art and Design, which I ended up doing some work with and things, doing some lectures and stuff for them. And actually, first time I've mentioned this publicly anywhere, in November, they're going to be doing I think 2 week long showing for me in their gallery there. So
yes,
very cool. Very cool.
Pushed to get it through, and we did meet during that meeting where I got the piece of the cat.
Emily Esau has done a lot for me and helping everybody out. Emily's great.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so, yeah.
And all of this kind of ropes together into why I live where I live now. I mean, I in doing stuff with the school and doing stuff with Dice Alliance, doing what I do, I can live anywhere. I literally could drop my ass anywhere on the planet. And as long as I've got an internet connection, I can do what I do. So my fiance and I talked long and hard about it at the time. And we're like, I think we should go there. And so we did. We picked up from Moorhead, Kentucky, 5 hours away, and moved across the state. Got the little farm here that I love now. And that day meeting Nathan, I will say, and this isn't just because he's on the show with me right now, or because we work together on stuff now, but I thought was the absolute most promising talent that I saw that day.
Wow.
Bar none. He had stuff to show. There was 3D stuff. There was some animation stuff. Mm-hmm. There was early versions of the comic that he does right now on his own called Nullified. Mm-hmm. There was just a lot of stuff. And my first thought when I saw it was, kids after my own heart. Because I'm that guy. I do all the things,
Right.
And here I saw Nathan and I was like, he does all the things, or he's trying to. Mm-hmm. And that really stuck with me. But then when we spoke, and it was very it was like talking to a younger version of myself at times, because he's like, yeah, I'm learning these things. I know these things. How do I get anywhere with it? Mm-hmm. Because one of the things that unfortunately most schools either can't or won't teach is what the actual life looks like of trying to make it with this stuff.
Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, schools get terrified when I give lectures.
I think that I think if schools were really honest with their students coming in about what this life can be like, they'd have a lot less students.
But they'd have a lot more like me, though. That's
the benefit. They would have the really real students, but they'd have a lot less overall.
Yeah,
students.
right.
So,
one of my things, and I was actually let go for being, quote, too authoritarian, was I had the students to a standard as if they were at a publishing company.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they, the students were like, ooh, they whined and cried about it, instead of just doing it. And I wanted them to feel the terror and the joy of success or failure. And unfortunately, that was not what they wanted. The school was more interested in profit than in producing functioning citizens.
I had the exact same experience teaching at a school in Lexington 20-some years ago. Exact same thing. So, but now Nathan, I remember him showing me some animation stuff on his phone. That was really interesting.
Oh,
we've talked 3D stuff. He does. You still using Blender, I think?
Yes. Which through the comic, I've had to
getting into it. I figure you're probably not really doing a lot of 3D right now, but
yeah, it's been a whole lot of either jumping from commission to commission, or get my own book finished. So I did a character model recently in the past few months or so, but
Can you show it?
I don't think that I have it on hand right now.
Oh, now you're on a computer, right?
No, I don't have my computer in my office right now. I have it in the other room, or else I would get it through here. I don't have a camera, so I only have my phone as a camera right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh well.
Starving artist for sure over here. You know.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying to work on that a little bit. I've got some work coming your way that we're going to be talking about later on today. Nathan's actually, when I was working on Reign of Dracula, he did colors for what will eventually be the version of that goes out to the shops.
Can you show images, Les, for Reign of Dracula?
Honestly, I don't have them on hand.
Okay.
I got Nathan on here, kind of spur of the moment. So
got it.
Yeah, we'll have him back and get him organized with it sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
He happened to be available this morning, so I was like, "Oh, let's get Nathan on here and talk."
That's because he's cool.
I try to be.
So, where was I going here? I was actually thinking about doing a little bit of live 3D stuff on here.
Yes,
I have my. Let's see. Well, screen's going to be stupid for a minute while I switch over.
Whoa.
And so I have this painting from last week that I had started. It was really just this concept where I was messing around with some depth and just ways of using values to create depth. And then right before the stream, while Nathan and I were talking, I kind of doodled some things in over it.
Very cool.
And I was going to talk a little bit about integrating 3D into this stuff, and of course, it's an involved process, but I was thinking about choosing a couple of simple elements.
I like the car.
I thought Nathan would be somebody good to have on because he understands the 3D stuff pretty well. And now, Nathan, have you used ZBrush at all?
I used a version of ZBrush, but I mean the license for that thing is pretty steep. So I used the older version of it.
Gotcha. Well,
I miss the gray hat days.
So I'm going to take this image and just export a copy of it, and I'm going to keep it nice and small. And come on, do it. Do the thing. Do the thing. Okay. And
why does Barbara Eden still look good even though she's 90? Isn't that creepy? It's almost like she's immortal.
Because you're a lot like Squizgar Squig Elf, and you love your G-MILFs. Grandmas, I'd like to.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's funny. Let's see here now. Where was I going? I was going to go in here to.
So, what are some of your favorite TV shows or stuff, Nathan? Like what do you do to entertain? And when you do that, how do you keep yourself disciplined so you make deadlines or get things done ahead of deadline? And then turning it on time.
Yeah. ADD's wild. So if I'm doing entertainment stuff and I'm on a deadline, I'll put it on my phone just on the side so I can hear it. And that's about it as I'm working on my tablet. Now, as far as, deadlines go and stuff like that, it's still the learning process of how to get as quick as possible. I'm starting to learn what kind of techniques I can implement into speeding up that type of process. But the whole thing is it's an evolving system. So that's it's definitely interesting.
Wow.
I can relate to that.
Now, what have been some of the challenges that you had? Like you don't know how to do something, or something is confusing. You don't have the aha moment.
So it's just a bunch of frustration, really. I was dealing with that kind of recently, talking about depth. I'm working on a commission right now where I'm trying to do this whole kitchen scene type of situation, but I needed these pieces to fit, and it's very frustrating. References help a whole lot. Sometimes it's time away from the screen.
Right.
That's cool looking.
All right. See here, I'm taking this texture and I'm plugging into the spotlight, and then I'm going to turn off the ability for that to, for me to manipulate that. So it's just going to sit over top of everything.
Just locking it in.
Yeah, so I have to go in here to see, where was it? Samples, and turn spotlight projection off. And so now that just sits on top of there.
Very cool.
And I can just move around. I've got this. The star is kind of this default thing in ZBrush. You have to draw something on the stage and hit T to go into the edit mode. The hardest part of ZBrush is all of its really obscure, weird key commands.
Yeah, I'm terrible with key commands. You remember that probably.
Yeah, and of course, given that my left hand doesn't really work well enough right now to use a keyboard, I'm still doing everything with my feet.
Right, right.
So I'm going to go in here and append something to this. What are we going to append to this? Let's throw a sphere in here and delete that guy out of there. Okay, so now I've got a few different ways to go with this. Why did it just do that? Oh, that's why it did that. Stop. Don't be a turd. Stop. All right. So now let's zoom out, which is like control right click.
Oh, geez.
Like what? Control middle mouse, click and drag.
Whew.
Yeah, it's funky. So I want to build up just a quick vehicle. I was thinking about doing these like 6-wheeled things. So I'm gonna actually don't like using the sphere for that. Let's use something nice and flat. Let's put a plane in here and then delete the sphere. Now, and I know that plane comes up. See, there's the floor. So the plane comes up that way. And I'm just gonna come in here and get my gizmo.
As for practice and stuff, I feel like this is a really good way of learning perspectives and such.
Oh yeah, yeah. I highly recommend for traditional artists to go into some 3D because it will change how you draw.
Yeah,
there is just no two ways about it. Okay, so I'm looking at my orientation here. Z is front. Okay, so now I've got a flat plane in here, and that just gives me kind of a place to start from.
Gotcha.
So let's move that down. Now, let's turn on my grid here. And then if I hit Shift Z, we'll turn off that image, and I can then Shift Z again, we'll turn it back on.
Very cool.
Really handy that way. I'm going to turn off my perspective. Now hit B, and we're going to go into and look at all the tools and things that I have available, which I've got a bazillion more of these stored elsewhere. But this is stuff that just comes up in ZBrush by default that you can pull from and use bits and bobs from. So I'm going to kit bash together a quick vehicle.
Okay.
And
very cool.
To do that, let's turn on symmetry. Let's grab the cube.
You won't believe this, guys.
What?
I've been invited as a last-second guest to a convention in Ohio.
Very cool.
They want me to interview some of the guests, like some of the people from Star Trek and things like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And apparently next week we're going to have a art director from Marvel Comics on.
Oh, wow.
So sorry about that for a second, but
okay.
That should be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Show more popular.
Okay.
Now, oh wow, that's like a giant pill.
It's that is a capsule primitive.
Okay.
We'll insert cube there.
Either red pill or blue pill.
It looked blue to me.
All right. So now that I've got this cube out here, I'm going to separate that off into its own subtool over here. So we'll hit space, come here. And now is when we're going to get really fun. The reason, normally I would have this entire space filled up and be working in that. But actually, I think I may just do that anyway. Let's see, actual. Yeah, that fills it up a little better.
I can imagine a guy just jumping on top of that like a trampoline.
God. So,
or it looks like a food cube to me, you know?
Let's go in here and
jam packed full of nutrients.
I'm going to set this to Dynamesh, and we'll see what resolution it gives. Okay, so since I'm doing something mechanical, I'm going to start carving off of this with a clip curve. So we'll Control, Shift, click and drag to about here, and then I double tap my Alt key, which if you can hear it, I had to do it with my foot. And then I'm going to come here.
Hey, Les, if you get sore doing this, would that be considered dinosaur?
There's something there.
Just one time. One time, if we could just get through one stream without Charles's shenanigans.
That looks like a house.
All right, so then next thing I'll do is remesh it, redynamesh this, which why is it not doing it?
So what is the reason for adding more and more meshes?
Well, I'm not adding more mesh. I'm recalculating the mesh that's there.
Okay.
And then, which I don't like how I did that one. So I want something just a little higher resolution than that.
It's basically like you were adding more pixels to a digital piece to give like more space to work with, kind of.
Yeah.
Then
Otherwise, it gets a little pixelated.
Okay.
Polish that a few times, clear the masking, and now we dynamesh down to that. Okay, there's that.
Now it looks like soap.
Then let's
You're not wrong.
Let's see. No, I'm not going to do that. Cut these one more time just to flatten them, make sure they're super flat. And then there's so many different ways to do what it is I'm about to do here. So next I'm going to take a slice curve.
Wow.
And slice up through here. And we'll slice over here. And this stuff, actually I can make this all perfectly symmetrical here in a second. Let's do a mirror and weld on X and Z axis.
Wow.
So did it.
Yeah, some of the stuff I don't know about because I use the Blender software.
Yeah. And I don't do any of it.
There it goes.
Wow. In the beginning, there was nothing. Then came less, and there became something.
Let's see. Now we're going to.
Now it's got a roof.
Yeah.
Well, what it's about to have. I'm going to take this.
Wow.
It doesn't have a roof now.
That's the engine.
I put a couple of edge loops around it. Now I'm reducing my selection to here. Mask that. Invert the mask. And now
I like the color.
What we're doing here is making a base that is going to have a wheel come out of it.
Oh,
gotcha. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So now I squeeze that in like so. Okay. And there's that. And we can switch to a more metallic looking material too. So now I want to dynamesh that to a higher resolution.
It's true. Les has a secret job where he works for Chrysler.
I could. I know how to use SolidWorks. Okay, so now that that's in there, this is going to be our base for a segment of a vehicle, which, let's see.
Les ended up in one of the smallest cars ever in his life, and he was like, my God, there's room. Why are you so squishy against the wall, Charles?
So let's mask that off. And then I'm just going to get a little space here. And always dynamesh again and bring it back. So now we've got that shape. Now, let's see, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? Let's go. Let's grab a brush. Go to our brushes. Let's look for. Surprised I don't have something in here for wheels right off.
Oh, you can make zippers?
Yeah.
Oh, that's super handy too, because zippers are not fun to the custom we put in.
Spaceships?
Yeah, there's a thing in here that's all kinds of greebles to use for building ships and stuff.
Wow.
I'm going to go into the one for machine parts and see if I've got something in here that I can turn into. Yeah, I can turn that into a wheel pretty quick. So let's grab that guy right there. And then.
So Nathan, what have you enjoyed about working with Les, and without getting in any way too much confidentialities, what other clients have you worked with, or what projects are up and coming for you?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing I've enjoyed is just the learning process working with Les. I think we're kind of the same mind, you know, of challenging, daunting tasks and stuff like that. So learning how he deals with that has been pretty useful information. And you don't it's not going to be like, oh, this looks fine. You know, he's going to push you to the best thing you could possibly do. So I think that's probably been some of the key, whatever, working with Les. It's been beneficial in my personal. I've worked on some other coloring things, and then some cover arts. Razor Wire McGuire's one that I got to do a cover on, and then I did a anthology type of thing that's like Metal Gear Solid related. That was a cover art. I don't know the title of that one though.
That's interesting. I know a voice actor from that property.
Oh, really? I love that property.
Yeah. I'd have to look up to see what he played.
Yeah, for sure.
Hold on. How do I minimize this without exiting? Oh, there we go. Exit full screen. Yeah. Ferrara. What is his name? And then the character, pull that up. So with your 3D stuff, are you more mechanical, figurative, or like less Renaissance?
Well, my 3D stuff, it's all for video games. Me and my buddy, we started up our own little studio type of thing. It's just the two of us right now. Geekmen Studio, where we're trying to make video games. We're making card games, stuff like that. Just giving that type of voice in Paducah. I thought, we think it would be really, really cool. So a lot of my stuff that I was doing was, weapons, characters. My problem is that I'll get stuck doing just the characters because it's got to be the best. So, that's where I was at, and just anything useful for that. So, modular building, I was kind of trying to figure out that system as well.
Yeah.
But the past 2 years, so we were working on that, I think 2018, 19, making a few different games here and there. But the past I guess 4 years now after school, and then now it's all been about sequential pages, learning how to tell a story through, visual first and foremost. One of the big things that I can incorporate back to 3D though is depth of your piece, making sure that your characters feel like they belong in that world. That's one of the big things I'm trying to figure out now is gravity and depth. Just to make those emotions and everything feeling fluid.
Right. Now, you were mentioning making new characters that they feel like they fit in the world. Would that like what would you do to let's say you're going to make a female character, 18 years old, very snippy.
Don't you know, Charles? You put a chick in it, you make it gay, and you make it lame.
Oh my God! Well, we're not Disney. Then that's hysterical. Then another character who's like in his 60s, grizzled, missing a couple of pieces, but war torn. With that current property you're doing, how would you approach it so that aesthetically they fit? What are some of your techniques?
My first thought process for these types of things is the environment itself that they're in. Okay. That's going to have a critical, line of the way they move and interact and stuff like that. So you say a war veteran type of situation. So that means that it would be, a military situation. Right. How would they interact with each other? You could do quite a few different things. Right now, I'm working on a second story titled Ghost. That's involved a teenage woman who will become a nullified character later on, but it's kind of her journey. So in that instance, I thought about her background and where she's at, and in it, she is from like the worst slummy type of area in this desert.
Wow.
So one of the big things I was figuring out there is how would she survive as an orphan on those streets? And she became a scavenger, climbing roof to roof, going to ruinous areas and scavenging whatever she can just to eat. So food is a huge like part of her life, because that's how, that's the only thing that she could really think about at the moment. And then along the same lines, I have like a pit fighter guy that also is a huge important character in the story. And they're both fighting for this type of slum area, but for different reasons. One is trying to fight to get out, and then one is trying to fight for the people within. So those are kind of my thoughts for those types of characters. It's all environmental first.
Yeah. Now, one approach that I might do, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts, Les, if you're interested in giving your thoughts, Les, is I would try to figure out the fashion design and almost create a logic for some fashion or illogic for some fashion. So illogic fashion is you got money, you don't care, you spend it, you look this way for aesthetics. Logic is, okay, it's hot, so then you have lighter clothing, certain coverings, your head would be covered, you might have a hat blocking your face so that you don't get sunburned, so on and so forth. What period is it? What time is it? Research different countries' fashion as well as our own fashion, so on and so forth. So that would be my approach. Les, what would your approach be to fashion?
To fashion? Ignore it.
Okay.
I'm very narrative focused. Everything's about the characters.
Right.
And when it comes to developing looks for characters, I tend, probably 9 times out of 10, I work backwards from the environment.
Interesting.
I look at the narrative and what kind of world the narrative calls for. And most stories, you can take the plot. In my opinion, if it's a good story, it's about people. It's about characters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You can boil those all down to a handful of situations most of the time. And those situations can be put in like any environment. So basically whatever the environment is that the story is taking place in is window dressing for the story. So
exactly.
I'll choose the environment to accent, like if I'm telling a story about, I don't know, an unrequited love, why is it an unrequited love? Or why are they star-crossed lovers? The bar. Why are they doomed? Are they doomed because of their families? Well, then I'll just figure out what the culture is for the families and work from that to develop an environment.
Yep.
Are they doomed because of the politics or because of the culture? Whatever those things are, I'll go to that, and then I'll start to build out from there. And then from there, it's like it's all reverse engineering. It's like just start chiseling away down each level. What's the world kind of like? Well, it's this kind of world. Oh, well, what's the environment like? How's those things? It's all very deductive. The way that I go about creating things is extremely deductive. And I just chisel away, is it, and even to the level of like, oh, let's say they're on a desert planet. Why am I choosing a desert planet for this? Why am I choosing these things to tell this kind of story? What elements of the human drama does that accent in the story? And how do I want to use the visuals to relate those things together? Once you make any one decision, and you actually work in all directions. You could just doodle around and come up with a character sketch that looks cool. That happens sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, for sure.
And then from there, start to ask questions. It's like, well, that looks cool. Why do I think it looks cool? As soon as you start asking yourself questions, you can start to build out. Well, why, does this character have wings? Why does it have wings? What kind of world, is it in where they need wings? Are they metal wings? Are they organic? Blah, blah, blah. You start asking all these questions, and through an ongoing process of there's deductive reasoning. I call this deductive creativity. And through this ongoing process of deductive creativity, you will take a core plot that is meaningful to people anywhere and build yourself into a world that makes sense and characters that make sense and a look for things that makes sense. And as a rule, like, this is one of my pet peeves with a lot, I repeat, a freaking lot in the world of sci-fi, is there's a lot of shit that makes no damn sense.
Yeah, right.
And that irritates me beyond belief.
Yeah, like look at the latest Acolyte.
Don't even get me started.
Oh boy. Why?
No.
Star Wars, you're supposed to eat.
Star Wars is my beautiful lady who they're trying to turn into a back alley whore.
Well, it's the additions, right? Like you said, if a beautiful story is deductive, you keep adding, and then that's where we start to have these weird crossfires.
Well, you can add. Okay, just as a case study, using Star Wars as a case study, which Star Wars is my North Star. Always has been, always will be. George Lucas, for me, is just, I mean, we're talking a hair away from a biblical prophet. Okay. George Lucas, I could literally teach a college course on why we live in a world that George Lucas built.
Wow.
Star Wars or not, but that's a whole other thing. I love George. I love what he created. I love the ideas behind it. There's so much to it. So if I were to say, looking at the idea of adding to something like that, a lot of where I learned that whole deductive creativity is from, as a kid, reading interviews with George Lucas. And it made sense. And I was like, that makes sense. Yes, I'll do that. So if we come to the ugly era that we're in with some things, we take something like Acolyte that has people working on it who either don't know what has been even enshrined in canon by Disney, who jettisoned all the canon that we loved.
Right.
And then a lot of me, I was one of the people who's like, okay, well, I'll go along with this. Maybe this won't be so bad for a minute. There's a number of things about it. I was like, okay, I can see where some of this needs to be ironed out. And they did. That was okay. That was perfectly fine. Then you take the Acolyte, where they bring in people who are like, okay, we've got a playground. Let's run with this. Let's do whatever we want to do. Canon be damned, even though the company that we're working for is the one who retconned the canon, said this is all what's there, and gave us rules. But now they're telling us we can do whatever we want, regardless of those rules. Like, that is incredibly irritating.
Right.
Now, by juxtaposition, if you look at Ahsoka, okay, Ahsoka, the Ahsoka series, the character of Ahsoka comes from Clone Wars. Clone Wars was a project of Dave Filoni with George Lucas. Dave Filoni come up under George. Dave Filoni is supposedly the one person who has personal access to all the stacks of notebooks George wrote for decades about Star Wars.
Good thing it didn't get into Candy's hands. She'd be like, oh, I need to light a barbecue.
Well, I mean, that stuff should have been on the table as canon from day one anyway. But for Dave Filoni, it is. And Dave Filoni creates based on the map that George Lucas has made. Is everything Dave Filoni does perfect? No, nobody is. But it's pretty damn good. And Ahsoka to me is like the best Star Wars we've had since the prequels.
Now the one with the prison where if you walk on the floor you get electrocuted,
That was really good, and it didn't break canon. It had full respect for canon. That was Andor, Cassian Andor, and it pulled from actually Ahsoka. I would say is the second best thing since the prequels, with the best being the movie that Andor pulled from was Rogue One.
That one was fantastic for sure.
Rogue One is as close to a perfect thing as we've gotten since Empire Strikes Back.
I would have liked to have seen one or two characters survive, but they just fall into the background so that they could be used in the future. Instead of you die, she dies, everybody dies. I felt like it was an episode of Heavy Metal with Den.
I loved it because it really gave gravitas to what the Empire did to Alderaan.
Right.
It gave, like, characters need to die.
Yeah.
And
which I actually, on that, I was listening to something that's very interesting. I think the best thing you can hope for out of your characters that you come up with is a noble or a worthy ending for them, because they only live in that universe, right? So if you let them linger for long enough, you can get them mixed up in stuff that you wouldn't agree with at the beginning of your journey.
Yeah. And it, like, oftentimes when I'm creating characters, I work backwards. I work from the end forward. I think about what kind of an end do I want this character to have? How do I want them to die?
Mm-hmm. And how do they earn it?
Yeah, and do they have a great death? Do they have an ignominious end of some sort? Why do they end up with that kind of an ending? And if it's good, did they earn it? If it's bad, did they earn it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so important, and so much of what we have today just doesn't even try. Like, I think the reason that the new Dune movies are so damn good is that the entire series of Dune in the books, everything has consequences.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they are treating that with respect. So, and with Star Wars as the example, Dave Filoni could do Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau could do Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, which is not as good, but I still liked. They can do those. They could do Ahsoka. And even when one of those three series has an episode that maybe isn't so good, or, whenever they have a stumble, which they're bound to, it's still good. I mean, it's still, even the stumbles are still kind of true to Star Wars. It's like they're not, you've put it like this. You've been let into someone's home. You've been told, here, there's a bunch of empty rooms here. Dress them up. Do what you want. Do what you want. Sure, you could probably throw the dead skin suits of Las Vegas hookers all over those rooms, but would that really be respectful? No,
right.
You probably want to kind of borrow from some of the aesthetic of the rest of the house so your ass can get invited back.
Mm-hmm.
Dave and John did that. Acolyte, Kathleen Kennedy, they're stretching the skins of Vegas hookers all over Star Wars.
Oh my God.
How do y'all feel about the video game universe that Star Wars has been involved in?
The only ones that I played was Knights of the Old Republic, and I thought they were excellent. And I would start out with my character all scarred up and disgusting looking, but then because of going like super good, their stance becomes nicer.
Mm-hmm.
The scars go away, and there's this like blue radiant holy person, and even the evil characters are like almost are swayed to neutral.
Yeah,
that are your companions, and I just thought that was so much fun with that. And I remember playing the two games, Knights of the Old Republic, and I just had a blast with that. And I found it interesting how the mechanics for Mass Effect seemed very similar to the Star Wars engine.
Yeah, the same company made those two, so you would think that they would add upon that. I agree with you too. I really liked the fact that you had your own choices in that universe, but they all made sense. It seemed to make a lot of sense. It doesn't take place during the movies, which I think is a great idea.
Right.
For choice driven, interactions and stuff like that. I think it definitely gives you a little bit more leeway with your actions.
I think that my gaming days were pretty much over pretty early on.
When you started doing 3D and then you were like, screw this.
Well, I got into 3D in part because of gaming.
Yeah.
I started out doing mods of of OG DOS Wolfenstein.
Oh my God, Wolfenstein was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that's like and just like that, I'm old. But I was doing mods of that stuff, and specifically doing Star Wars mods. I did a Star Wars mod for Wolfenstein. Then Doom came out, and I modded the crap out of that. Doom, Unreal, Quake, all that stuff going way back.
A friend of mine who I might have on, he's a patent trademark attorney, so I might have him on to talk about the importance of patent trademark, what you can and cannot do, fair use, unfair use, parody.
That's a good idea.
All that stuff. I tend to get strange different guests. I even had a tax person on here talking about the importance of having an LLC or C Corp just for liability purposes. But the thing, I lost my train of thought, rats. But the thing that was just amazing with I lost it. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you just mentioning before, Les?
I got lost in where you were going.
You were talking about bringing up.
Talking about doing all those mods and stuff. So
yeah. Okay.
Back then, I played. I think there was. I played like the original DOS X-Wing and TIE Fighter.
Yeah, that was great.
Dark Troopers
or Wing Commander.
That one. I never played Wing Commander.
Okay.
I was like.
But to get back to what I was saying, my friend Frank used to work at a Hughes Aircraft, and we went to a computer store. I mean, a computer convention, and we just bought all these raw parts. And he's like, "I'm going to teach you how to build a computer." At the time, I was going to take out a $20,000 loan to get a Power PC, and I asked Frank to look over the contract. He took it, ripped it up, and said, "We're not doing that." And for $200, and it's still useful to this day, we built. I built a 200 MMX computer, which was like top of the line, and he built like 3 other computers. And he's like, "You want to try networking?" I'm like, "Okay." So then we networked, one for his brother, one for me. I was in his basement. We were all roommates. And then himself. And I brought the game Doom. And we put it on all 3 computers. And I was like, let's play Doom. We started playing it. And we kept playing, and we were tired. I was like, oh, it's dark out. Okay, we're playing and playing. Oh, it's light out. And then we finally stop. We make it to like the ending finally. And we're just like, why are we so tired? Oh, what? And we discovered we spent nearly 24 hours on the damn thing.
It can happen.
We were just so engrossed. It was like, oh, look at that. Let's kill it. Oh. And then we discovered the cheat codes, and we're like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah.
I loved that stuff back then. And it was that stuff combined with the mid-90s Star Wars re-releases were big fuel for my learning 3D.
Gotcha.
Big
well,
fuel.
we had fun playing as the Empire, trying to win missions.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like whenever women would play, they would always play the rebellion side, and when we have normal guys, just something about the Empire we like so much more.
Fascist.
We have better costumes.
I think I was always a rebel.
Yeah.
I like that idea a little bit more.
Yeah.
there are times when I'm one of those people who can be like, the Empire was right.
Yeah.
But the games back then, I think I got out of most PC gaming, not really out of it, but I just couldn't. I mean, I was just too damn busy to play many games when around the time the Knights of the Old Republic came out. I remember my kids played it. That became a thing for a long time where I would watch my kids play different games. Yeah. And I thought it looked really promising, looked really good to me.
Mm-hmm. Now, back then they had some true magic over there. I mean, their game Dragon Age Origins when it came out.
I played some of Knights of the Old Republic, and I played Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Dragon Age Origins was amazing. That dark fantasy world.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I come into a bunch of story from either movies or video games.
Yeah.
Single player games in particular. I mean, that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from, impactful stories, because that's what those are. They're just interactive. You're following your main character, but you're just following them, behind his shoulder or whatever. So that's how, I got into my imagination. I was coming up with these worlds that these people were in and all that type of stuff.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Now, what do you prefer, Nathan? Sci-fi or fantasy?
Probably fantasy. I like when they mix it in together, like Final Fantasy. They add a little bit of both incorporation. Yeah. But I do get into some like dystopian, cyberpunk-esque, I like the stories that can be told in there because everything is so distraught.
Right.
How do you breathe in that atmosphere?
Real world.
Yeah, right. It's kind of that mirror. So I do enjoy those, but fantasy probably. I spend more time in fantasy.
Now, Les and I were having an interesting conversation about different TV shows or movies, and Les was saying Star Wars, the fans are communists.
No.
How did that go?
It was the Star Trek fans are commies. Star Wars fans, until recently, were mostly like hardcore libertarians, or leaned very libertarian.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
that makes sense.
And then Doctor Who fans?
Doctor Who fans are just fucked up.
Well, most of the Star Wars stories taking down the establishment, right? That's like
he would say Doctor Who is for dorks.
Doctor Who's just for dorks.
Now I disagree, because it's basically a member of Chaos who loves to throw monkey wrenches into the establishment to cause a positive outcome for the long run.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then I said to Les, maybe there's a correlation between Doctor Who fans and DC fans as compared to Marvel, because Marvel, tends to be about the identity behind the hero.
Right. Yeah.
DC tends to be about the hero with the identity as the sideline.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I could absolutely see that, especially. The X-Men. That's a great observation into the X-Men. It's all about their identity, how they deal with, and then it's the environment aspect afterwards.
Yeah.
So I could see that for sure.
Well, so much of Marvel stuff has always been kind of social, like there's always been a lot of like I hate the term, but I'm going to use it. What I would call social consciousness.
Oh yeah,
Marvel stuff. They've always leaned heavy into that, which I'm not entirely opposed to, but it can suck.
Yeah,
like right now, it sucks big time where they're going with it.
Dun dun dun.
So
I would have liked to see She-Hulk go closer to a flavor of horror. Imagine the first series of She-Hulk where like the dad's a cop and the cop thinks she's a menace. The mob is involved, and you got this other stuff. And then you have the auspice of Immortal Hulk, where they died and they cannot go to heaven or hell, and basically Earth is their purgatory. And the only reason why she doesn't have the full madness of rage like her cousin is he got a dose of the radiation and died and resurrected.
Now, see, she doesn't have the rage because balls.
No! But in her case, she just has a dose of it. Her blood transfusion, dies.
She-Hulk got a dose of balls.
Okay. Oh!
Just a little dose. Just a little dose of
that comes out of it, and I could just imagine this would be like if Miracle World happened and I was in charge of the series. That season 1 was just this weird fever dream fantasy, and she wakes up as this monster, doesn't understand what's going on, almost like a birthing, runs amok, and then after a while gets integrated where the subconscious and the conscious, become more intertwined. And because it was just a minor dose of the radiation as compared to Bruce, who got the incredible dose of everything and died instantly.
So what you're saying is she had tiny balls where he had the really big balls.
She's able to control her mind.
Scope and size and magnitude of his balls that caused him to wreck everything.
By the way, Nathan, any last words? We've come up to an hour or advice before we go.
I just thank you so much for inviting me to this. It was last minute, but I've enjoyed the process so far. This has been a whole lot of fun.
Let me hop back over here and ditch this stuff off the screen. Hey, before we have to go, tell folks where they can find any of your stuff, especially your book, Nullified.
Right. Yeah. A ton of people hiring you.
Yeah. He's got good stuff going on, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Right now, Nullified is local with me. I mean, I'm not doing any distributors at the moment or anything like that. So if you want to reach out and look at it, absolutely.
You got a website up for it yet?
I have to finish building it. I'm getting close to the finishing of that one. If you want to reach out.
You know that feeling.
Yeah, right. What is it? It's Nathan.Lawson.3701 on Instagram, I believe. So I think that's probably the biggest spot that I have until the website. But yeah, I mean, it's been an insanely awesome process. I was lucky enough to work on every bit of it, concept all the way to print the dang thing myself. So
you sound like Les.
Yeah, I know. Well, I took a lot of cues from that. He said he made his own book. So I was like, oh, that's the best way to learn, I would say.
Yeah.
Doing all of it. So
throw yourself in the deep end and see.
Exactly. Yeah. I plan on keep on going. Nullified, I want to keep it going until I can't draw anymore. I'm working on a side story, Ghost, that'll tie into the second issue right now. It's coming along pretty good. And then, working with Les with some coloring and whoever else wants some work done, just let me know,
Well, we'll give you a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now I got to try and figure out where all the promo stuff is to run at the end of this.
Yep.
So,
hey, Pops, run commercials.
Really don't know. Is Pops in here? Hey, Pops, you want to...
getting it done, getting it there. Critical path logistics, getting it done, getting it there.
Flip City Magazine is just really pulling out all the stops, man. Your guys' production value of this magazine has gone insane. I mean, look at that. I mean, I remember when you guys, it was black and white. Even when it was black and white, I thought your quality was great. But damn, they have just, I mean, they just really stepping it up a notch. Look at this. James Corbett, boys. James Corbett.
Genuinely cutting. But also funny, and obviously just chaotic and very fun.
I love Flip City. It has brought new types of badassery and integrity to the print medium.
Just back it already.
How do you end this thing? How do you put the where's the brakes on this bus? I forgot.
Jazz hands. Jazz hands.